What is going on, everybody? It is the Going Over Big Time podcast. We are back. I am Mike Charlotte. I am joined once again by my co host, Alan the Cantastic. And today we are here to review the latest AEW pay per view, AEW Dynasty, the 2025 edition. Now, on paper, going into this show, a lot of the matches were there was some stories going into the show, but most of the card was kind of put together very last minute. They put some first round Owen Hart tournament matches on the card, and they put a Max Caster Open Challenge, which we will talk about because that actually had some significance. But I don't know. This card, on like I said, on paper, looked like it should have been a really fun show. And there are a couple of matches on here that we are going to talk about that were great. But all in all, I don't know how to say it. Like, this show didn't go over as well as we had hoped. And I know a lot of people are saying it's because of the result of the main event. And the result of the main event subsiding, like, I thought that what they did in that match, um I didn't hate the match in particular. It was slow, but I didn't hate the match. I thought the match was fine, but people were just so ready for Mox to lose that a lot of people, and I mean, we're on social media all the time during these shows, and we see like the initial reaction, and the initial reaction to the result of that match in particular was not favorable. Alan?
Yeah, I looked at this match. I looked at this show and I said to you offline that it reminded me of a episode of Collision, except they multiplied the length by another 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, I do feel like I was kind of waiting for like through this whole show to go through until like I was looking forward to what was like the Kenny Omega triple threat and the main event between
Yep.
Mox and Swerve. Unfortunately, the ending of the main event wasn't as hyped up to be. See, like I felt like I had to watch through this whole show just to get to that main event and see what they actually do with it.
Yep.
Um, like I'll give you a random ass example. Years ago, before he became the guy who was our former Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau had a exhibition boxing match for charity where he was basically boxing some other guy. And I had to watch this show that I had never watched before for like 4 hours just to wait for that boxing match to take place.
Well, I mean that. Yeah,
And I'm
I
like,
mean,
that's the level of. I'm not saying that this was just like the equivalent, but I'm saying like there was just good matches in between. But I'm just thinking,
well,
I watched through all this just to wait for that, and I'm
going
like,
off of that example, it's like when you go to see like when we were watching Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul.
you know what? That's a
Ev-
more recent example. That's more relevant.
Everybody was watching that show to see Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul, even though
Oh
we
my,
knew it
yeah,
was going to be a disaster. But in
yeah,
the middle of that, there was actually good boxing fights.
exactly.
So, but yeah, as you mentioned, and it's a very accurate description, and we talk about this a lot on AEW pay-per-views. There was like 3 or 4 matches here that could have been on Dynamite or Collision. And that is a theme in AEW pay-per-views. I don't need the pay-per-view to be almost 5 hours long. I It doesn't bother me as much as it does most of the public, and I get that being an issue. Like, the show started at 7, essentially. The pre-show starts at 6:30, but the matches start at 7. And it ended at almost 12:30 at night. That's a long show. A really long show.
I was
And
like, when it got time to the main event, I was like, it's 11:50. Like, how much time are they allocating to this? And I'm like, oh no, they're gonna blow past midnight. I'm like, come on.
yeah, and
Yeah.
again, we're going to talk about some of the matches that I believe could have just been on the following Dynamite or the Collision right before. And I get what, like, oh, you want to have these people on the pay per view. I understand, but it's like sometimes it's okay to just load up a Collision or load up the next Dynamite or something. There's no reason why some of these matches needed to be on this show, and I don't know if Tony Khan understands that person. Like, obviously he says that he reads what he can read, like as far as social media goes, and he wants to appease the fans the best way that he can. But I mean, he says that and then does this almost every pay-per-view. So I
I think increasingly the viewpoint is that a lot of people are seeing Tony booking things because Tony likes it, because Tony thinks it'll be good.
well,
And where have we heard of a wrestling company where a booking took place because the head guy thought it was a good idea?
I I wouldn't put it on the same level, but I understand your comparison. uh it makes sense. But yeah, all right. So let's get right into the matches. And as far as so there was two matches on the buy-in, uh 0 hour, whatever you want to call it now. The first one was a uh trios match of the Crew, or as I prefer to call them, Rush to Action, teaming with Nick Wayne to take on the team of Top Flight and AR Fox. And this was a hell of a match because everybody in it is great. It's just that um, I felt it was very predictable considering we had a tag match between the two tag teams in this match literally 2 days before this. And actually, the night before this on Collision. And the other team won that match. So it was kind of like, oh, okay, we're going to just add two other people. And I guess the other team's going to win now. And the story here is kind of odd because I thought this feud was over. The Crew and Top Flight kind of were feuding for a while. Then the Crew was just randomly showing up during tag title matches but not doing anything. And then they just decided to fight Top Flight again. And it didn't make much sense as to why that was happening. And then the Crew decided that Nick Wayne should still hate AR Fox for what happened 2 years ago with Swerve. And
I mean, that's reaching back. That's reaching deep in the barrel there. That's reaching,
yeah, and
grasping
and
at long
and Nick
straws.
Wayne, essentially, who is on this like journey to like prove that he has better ideas than Christian without Christian being on television, um said that he is not friends with the Crew and that he will finish his business with Fox when he feels fit. And he decided that last week on Collision was that time.
Okay.
But not because the Crew said so, because he said so. So I don't know. He claims that him and the Crew are not friends and that it doesn't make any sense. I don't know what the deal is here, but like, either way, this was a very fun match. Everybody in it great. Just who I expected to win won. Um, the next match. So this was the Max Caster Open Challenge. Now,
Yep.
when I did predictions for this show on social media, I did not even it didn't even cross my mind that Anthony Bowens would be coming back at this show. So when I initially did predictions for the show, I was like, oh, they'll just have like Josh Alexander show up for the first time. So, but I remembered that Max Caster has been talking shit about Anthony Bowens for like the last 3 weeks. So I should have expected it. And that's exactly what happened. Anthony Bowens came back, new theme song from Jane's Addiction. Still has Billy Gunn with him for some reason. I don't know why he still needs Billy Gunn. Um, but yeah, and he just kicked the shit out of Max Caster.
Yeah, the match officially lasted 40 seconds.
Yeah. Um,
He's back. Bowens came back in, a new outfit. Apparently, it's a version of something he wore before. He's
yeah.
rebranded as the Five Tool Player and the Pride of Pro Wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think he called himself the Five Tool Player before.
Yes.
The Pride of Pro Wrestling is a lean in on his LGBTQ background. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, he looks great. I mean, this was
Yeah.
one highlight of all of Dynasty, to be honest, that him coming back and being repackaged like this. I
Yeah.
mean, he's ready for a
Well,
singles run. Like you and I have talked about this on and off for years. Like he's
yep.
ready to, break out as singles once the Acclaim has run its course, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that, and we've been saying it for a while, and it's weird because like there was a period where Max Caster and Anthony Bowens were over as a team, and obviously the Acclaimed were very over. I was there when they won the belts at the second Grand Slam show, and they were never more over than that night. And then over time, it just got to a point where Max did not uh Max does not care to get over in the natural way, and he was just continuing to do all these raps that nobody wanted to hear and saying stupid things on television and getting fined and almost suspended for things that he said that he should not have said. And I mean, Anthony Bowens even said in the presser that he has saved Max Caster's job multiple times. So, I don't know how this is going to, because he can't continue to do the open challenges. He can't. He just can't. he's gotta he's gotta do something else or come back repackaged or something. He can't keep doing this. And
Yeah, I would take him off TV for a while, and like not now that Bowens took some time off TV to repackage, Max needs to repackage
yes,
because that whole open challenge thing, like you can't keep doing it if you're gonna keep losing the open challenges.
yeah. Well, and again, I felt like the whole reason to do them was to build to this moment, to build
Right.
to Anthony Bowens coming back. Now, it he was losing every match anyway. So now that Anthony Bowens is back, it doesn't make sense for him to keep doing that. And he needs to stop calling himself the best wrestler alive because obviously it's a gimmick. We all know it's a gimmick, but like it's offensive for him to say that because it's very obviously not true.
Yeah.
um so yeah, very happy that Bowens is back. Very happy that he's going to go out on his own and do other stuff. As I mentioned, I he needs to lose Billy Gunn. I Billy Gunn needs to go backstage and stay backstage. That's my opinion on Billy Gunn right now. He doesn't need to be on TV anymore. Um, but yeah, we'll see what happens. But the first match on the main card, and this was a very fun match, and again, kind of very predictable because of the circumstances. Um, so Jay White unfortunately got injured before this show and was supposed to be in this match. Um, which is crazy. Like that's a obviously a big pay per view match, Osprey versus Jay White, and Kevin Knight, who has only been in AEW for a couple of weeks now, was you know thrown into the deep end. Had his first match against Jay White. I think Jay got hurt in that match specifically, and then um, because he was hurt against Kevin Knight, Kevin Knight was given his spot, which doesn't make a lot of sense considering you're in a tournament to see who faces the world champion at your biggest pay per view, and you only had one other match in the company. Um, One other singles match. Because leading up to this, he had a tag match as a preview of the tournament. And Kevin Knight's a great wrestler. And he had a great match here with Will Ospreay, as most people do. Kevin Knight has been killing it in New Japan, teaming with Kushida and in the junior tag division. And he's going to also be competing in the Best of the Super Juniors coming up in New Japan. But there was no way that he was going to beat Will Ospreay, obviously. We knew that the match would be very fun, and it was. And it's one of the better matches on the show, and Kevin Knight has proved that he belongs in AEW because of the matches he's had so far in AEW. And but he's going up against probably the new face of the company, the guy who I think we all at this point expect to win the Owen Hart Cup and go to All In to face for the world title. But I thought this match was great. It was one of my favorite matches on the show. One of the few matches on the show that I absolutely adored.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is a great match, but
Of
to your
course.
point, to your previous point,
Yep.
the reason like why this pay-per-view in my mind was kind of a dud was that like all the outcomes here were very predictable, to be honest.
Of
Which
course.
goes to the other point you said some of them should have been put on Collision. You know, like Will Ospreay versus Kevin Knight in an opening match for the Owen Hart Cup. Like obviously we know who's going to win that one. And like I mean, we'll go into this more later, but you're like, you know, you count the Bowens Max Caster match that took place for 40 seconds. Yeah, obviously, like I mean, that trend was established that Max was losing these open challenges anyway. But
Yep.
yeah, you go down this card is like most of these matches were the endings were predictable. Like there was no surprises that I figured that really were into this, except maybe the main event, but that's debatable based on what happened. But
Well, and
yeah,
and to,
like it's overall good match between Osprey and Kevin Knight. But you know, I mean, they did everything you expected, but the outcome was not a surprise.
no, not at all. And to put that into perspective, other than my flub of guessing Josh Alexander as Max Caster's opponent, I guessed every match correctly except the main event.
Yeah,
uh, so there's that. But and predictable. I will say this, and I've said this about WWE shows in the past. Predictable is not bad if it's good, and unfortunately, not all these matches are great. Some of them are passable. So when it's not a great show, predictable can be not great. So um yeah. Uh so the next match on the main card, and this is one of those matches that did not need to be on the pay-per-view, but I understand why it was, because we're going to get into that obviously, and we're recording this after Dynamite has taken place, so we will discuss some things that happened that pertain to this. So the next match is the Hurt Syndicate defending the tag team titles against the Learning Tree, uh, Big Bill and Brian Keith, who before getting this title opportunity had not won a lot of tag matches.
yeah, I didn't
uh,
even know they were a team.
so basically the story was that Chris Jericho, for some reason, was telling them that he was ready. He wanted to see them, succeed more and do more, because they were just being his lackeys and not succeeding at all. So they put it in motion to go for the tag titles. And when they confronted the Hurt Syndicate the first time, MVP laughably and predictably said, "Why would we give you a tag title match when you haven't won any tag matches? How about win some matches first?" So they did. They beat the shit out of Top Flight and a bunch of nobodies and got a tag title match. And this match was fine. It was it was pretty paint by numbers, like the same deal as the Hurt Syndicate's match with um who did they face at the Turbo Floyd and what's their name?
Proof Magnum,
Yeah,
the Outrunners.
the Outrunners. That's right. Sorry, I was drawing a blank. It was paint by numbers. That the only difference is that Big Bill is established. And like, I mean, Brian Keith is an established wrestler. He spent many years on the indies, but he's not established in AEW at all. Big Bill is. He's a former tag champion. So it's just nobody expected that team to have a shot in this match. Like even a little bit. Um and there was some good moments in this match, obviously, the fact that Shelton Benjamin can still do the things that he could do at almost 50 is it's amazing every time. And it's like I wish this guy was younger. I like both of them, honestly. I wish Bobby and Shelton were both, had more years ahead than behind. But at the rate that they're going, they're probably going to wrestle for another 15 years.
Mhm.
Um but this match was fine, and predictably, Maxwell Jacob Friedman, MJF, who is trying to join the Hurt Syndicate, even though he originally declined, and then MVP was like, think about it. And Bobby Lashley and Shelton were like, nah, we're good. So MVP was like, sorry. which is hilarious.
Right.
But MJF shows up during this match in the crowd and causes Big Bill to be taken out, essentially, leading to Brian Keith getting pinned. And Bobby Lashley and Shelton didn't notice that MJF was there until after the match, to which they were not happy about because they didn't want his help or need his help. So they successfully defend the belts. And then going into Dynamite, we get like a celebration kind of thing where the Hurt Syndicate's in the ring with champagne and whatever. I don't know why you would have to celebrate this win. It's not that big of a win, but um and MJF comes out and just acts like he's part of the group. And everybody's looking at him like, what are you doing? And Bobby Lashley is like, I don't like you. You're not part of the Hurt Syndicate. Get the hell out of here. And MVP, who's friends with MJF from his years on the Indies, is like, we will put it to a vote. I like Max. I like you a lot. You know that, but we'll put it to a vote. And if you get out voted, then it's over. That's it. And it didn't take very long for that to take place because MVP said yes and Shelton said no. So that was it. And then the Hurt Syndicate left, and MJF just stood in the ring dejected. Even though he has said numerous times that he does not need friends, he very clearly wants them. Very clearly. But he's saying that he just wants to be part of the group so that they could help him win the AEW title. But it's very clear. Like, the story is that Maxwell Jacob Friedman wants friends because he doesn't have any anymore.
I mean, they keep rehashing the storyline. MJF wants friends. I mean, they'll make him flip that between like heel and babyface again, and probably at some point down the road.
Yeah,
But this seems, yeah, like this seems a bit just silly. And that whole match we were just talking about really was like the only interesting thing was MJF's interference. And no, again, wasn't expecting Big Bill and Brian Keefe to beat these guys. No
nope,
offense.
nope.
Another one, another match that was, you know, outcome was predictable.
Yeah, and going back into Brian Keith and Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho hosted his TV time segment on Dynamite, where he basically said that he was not happy about how things went at Dynasty. We'll talk about his match a little later, but he basically was going into the like I'm not mad, I'm disappointed thing, and Big Bill is like, I don't need you to, I don't need you to preach to me. If you want to give me advice, go ahead, give me advice. But I don't need you to berate me and tell me that I could have did better when I know I could have did better. And he says that Brian Keith agrees with him. And then Jericho gets very upset. And when he says he's disappointed, he says it repeatedly and smacks the television with the bat over and over and over again, and then walks away. And Big Bill is literally just standing there in shock that Chris Jericho just beat up a television. And reports are saying that Jericho is taking a break,
Oh,
which
I hope so.
I
Oh my
believe
god.
me, you are not the only one. Uh, there is reports that he is going on tour with his band, and that we're not going to see him for a while, which hasn't stopped him before. So I don't know why. Supposedly, the reports are saying that he believes it's time. So
Well, they did the whole bit where he just left the parking lot and got into his car, limo, and like drove off, and
yeah,
you know, like
after he beat up some bottled drinks for some
yeah,
reason,
okay.
and he found like a crate that was full of like drinks, and he beat that up with the bat also, and then got in the car and drove away. Well, had somebody drive him away. So we'll see what that leads to with Big Bill and Brian Keith. If Chris Jericho's not going to be around anymore, are they still going to be associated? Are they going to do their own thing? Are they going to go singles? I hope that they're done with Chris Jericho. Honestly, I want Chris Jericho, if he comes back again, does not need to be in a group again. Stop with the Jericho in groups thing.
How many groups has Chris Jericho? Let's see. There's
This
the
is
Inner
his third. This is
Circle,
his third group in AEW.
the Jericho Appreciation Society, and now this, the
Yes,
Learning Tree.
his
Oh my
entire
god.
AEW run has been in a group, and then he tried to tag team with Kenny Omega.
That would have been interesting. That would have been something different. I wish that that would have happened if Kenny didn't have his major health
Yeah,
scare.
yes,
That could have gone to some lengths. I mean, I was looking forward to the Winnipeg Golden Jets, so
mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see what happens there, and I guess we'll get into the next match, which I believe is the Jericho match.
Actually, the next match was Mercedes and
Oh,
Julia
okay.
Hart in the
Yep.
Women's Owen Cup.
Yes, you're right. You're right. You're right. Um, yeah. So the next match is Mercedes versus Julia Hart in the first round of the Owen Hart Cup again. So when the brackets were created, right, and you looked at them on paper,
Yeah,
each bracket had two people in it that you knew were going to the finals. I think.
yeah, yeah.
Um, On the men's side, and I obviously I don't know this. This is just what I expect. The finals is going to be Will Ospreay versus Hangman, and on the women's side, the finals is going to be Jamie Hayter versus Mercedes. Uh,
I mean, Mercedes being in there, she was gonna make it far already, and like putting her in there with Julia Hart.
yeah,
No offense, again, another predictable outcome.
yes, and this match unfortunately did not live up to the recent Mercedes in-ring success, and that's not her fault entirely. That also falls on the shoulders of Julia Hart, who did not look great in there. There was some good moments in this match, but there was a lot of slow moving part moves going on there, and I don't know if Julia is still like getting her ring legs back since being back from injury. Maybe she's not fully 100% there in the ring again. I I don't know, but she did not look good in this match. And Julia has a lot of time to get better. Cuz she is only 23, believe it
Mm,
or not. Um but there was no way she was winning this match, and yeah, as you said, very very predictable match that did not need to be on the pay-per-view. Julia could have, Mercedes could have defended her title here in an open challenge for all I care, and you could have had this match on the next Dynamite. Um, so yeah, um, time of recording. I mean, we're recording this on Friday after Dynamite, and Athena is on the same side of the bracket as Mercedes, and she is expected to beat Harley Cameron to face Mercedes in round two. Um, which we all kind of saw coming with the recent things that are happening on AEW television. Mercedes was, you know, having verbal back and forths with Athena because of her recent run-ins with Billy Starks, and we were hoping for this match to be on the pay-per-view. Or at least maybe an all-in match down the line, but it looks like we're going to get this on the spring breakthrough uh, special, which I think is just going to be an episode of Collision on a Thursday. Uh, so in Boston. So who's winning that match? uh, but either way, I'm very excited to see Athena versus Mercedes, and in a way that it doesn't. Neither of them have to defend their belts, so it shouldn't be as predictable. But she's gonna win. Mercedes is gonna win. So yeah, um, we'll see what happens there. I hope Julia will continue to improve. I don't know what she's going to be doing right now. She's kind of in limbo right now, being in a group that is kind of hurting at the moment. The Hounds of Hell. Um, Buddy Matthews is injured. Brody is in the men's tournament, and he's probably going to lose since he's facing
mm,
Takeshita in round one.
yeah.
So yeah, we'll see what happens going forward with Julia specifically. I think she's uh, maybe she should go to ROH for a little while, do something different. All right. So the next match is the trios championship match, and this was fun. This was actually a very good match. Again, very predictable because we kind of all expected what happened after to happen. Um, so going into this match, FTR have kind of been on a losing streak, and Dax has been getting frustrated about that. Um, and we have talked about for a while how FTR needed a heel turn. and they had been, kind of getting stale as baby faces, kind of just doing the same thing over and over and over again, and it was time for a change. So Dax started getting frustrated, losing matches, and the final straw, I guess, was him losing to Wheeler Yuta. Oh no, there was something that happened before that, right? So Dax lost a match and got upset, and security guards were trying to hold him back, and Cash showed up, and he didn't realize that Cash was there, and he shoved him, and he immediately got apologetic. Um, they did that segment where he uh, personally paid Paul Turner $10,000, and he told Paul Turner to use it on a night out with his wife.
They're like, where the hell are you going to spend $10,000 on a night? A night. You expect them to spend all $10,000 on a night? Like,
Yeah,
what are we talking
that
about?
was funny. But
Yeah.
him and Cash basically had a run in during that segment, and he was like really sorry and telling him like he felt bad and he didn't want to do what he did. It just he didn't realize he was there and it was a mistake. Um Also, I'm forgetting that this really started when Copeland didn't win the world title. Um Copeland didn't win the world title against Mox, and Dax didn't help him up when the match was over. He walked away, and they did that segment where they did a sit down interview where Dax was like, "Oh, we're gonna go for the tag titles now because it's time," and Cash was like, "Why don't we try go for the trios first?" And Dax wasn't very happy about that. You could tell on his face he didn't want to do that, but he made it seem like he wanted to make this work because him, Cash, and Adam Copeland are real life best friends. Uh, there was the story when Cope was getting ready to get back into the ring in 2020. Uh, FTR helped him get ready for getting ready to wrestle again,
Yep.
and he essentially like lived with Cash Wheeler for a while to get ready to get back to wrestling, and so there's a lot of history there, and so that after all that build up, we get to this match, and again, this was a very good match. Everybody in this match, great workers. A lot of good moments in this match, but ultimately the Death Riders would win, as we expected. And after the match, Cope uh, Cope was down on the ground, and Dax helped him up, unlike when he did when he lost the world title. And then they raised arms, and then he gave Cope a pile driver. And this was very significant because of Adam Copeland's history with neck problems. And Cash initially reacts surprised and like he didn't see it coming. And then Dax leaves the ring and gets two chairs to do a concerto. And Cash tells him to stop. And then he does it himself. Cash Cash then also turns on Adam Copeland and gives him two concertos.
Oh boy.
And then they do a spike pile driver. And after all of that, the spike pile driver, um oh well no, you know what I forgot. It was the shatter machine before the chair shots. So they Adam Copeland gets shoved by wait, what am I forgetting? There's a thing in the middle I'm forgetting. There was the Shatter Machine where Cash helped him up and they did the Shatter Machine. And then the Spike Pile Driver and then the Concertos. Right? Am I getting that right?
I believe that is correct. I mean, I kind of feel like I want to look this up just to make sure.
Yeah, I feel like there was something I forgot. But either way, after all of this commotion, they were gonna bring out a stretcher, but Cash and Dax comically take the neck brace away from Adam
Oh,
Copeland.
okay. And that part I remember. Cash puts the neck brace on, starts mocking Cope, and
Yes. And then they pushed the stretcher down so they couldn't put him on the stretcher. uh
yeah,
yeah. So I guess they're doing an angle now where Adam Copeland's going to be gone for a while. I think I know exactly where this is going. If Adam Copeland's going to be gone for a little while, it's the perfect time for him to take a little break and then come back. And this is going to lead somehow. I don't know how yet, but it's going to lead somehow to Cope and Christian versus FTR. I don't know how. We gotta wait and see, but
yeah,
it's gonna happen,
yeah,
and it's gotta happen at All In because he's not gonna have a singles match with Dax. He's got to get a partner.
yeah,
Um. So, but that's a match we all want to see, right? I mean, first of all, we want to see Cope and Christian teaming at all, let alone against FTR. But
yeah.
that's
You gotta have to make it as because so Christian becomes a babyface as well, right? Like so
well,
some kind of falling out.
he doesn't have to be. So the example that I've heard a lot, and I it makes a lot of sense, is if you think about, and this is going back, but like Lex Luger and Sting, which this is kind of relevant because Lex Luger's going into the Hall of Fame in WWE. Lex Luger and Sting were always friends, but Lex Luger was a dick, and Sting was not.
Hmm.
And I think it's going to be a similar scenario there where Adam Copeland has run out of options. He doesn't have any more friends. But Christian will always be his best friend, even though they have fought so many times recently. And he is willing to put that behind him and accept Christian's whatever bullshit just to be his friend again. I think it's going to be something like that. Um, but yeah, that's a match we all want to see, and that's an all in match if I've ever heard one. You know, um, so I think it's okay for Cope to take an extended break to build to that, and FTR can do something else right now as heels. Um, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, having a heel FDR team would be interesting to like kind of jolt the tag division back up a little bit. Um, but yeah, like as for the outcome of this particular trios match, if that stuff between Cope and the FTR wasn't building up before then, I would have probably put this down as a title change. But because that
yeah,
stuff was lingering in the background, it was like, yeah, they're gonna try to grow on that story instead.
yep. So we'll see what happens with FTR as heels again. Once again, I'm excited to see them as heels again because, and you mentioned this. We had this conversation a long time ago, right at this point. But when FTR was really coming into their own as baby faces, and Dax started to talk about his daughter on screen and the things that she was going through, and we talked about, and I wasn't the only person who said this, but we talked about it specifically how like oh, this guy like just said that he is going to fight like a little girl, and because his little girl was fighting something, he can never be heel again. Of course, she hasn't been mentioned in a very long time, so you can put that behind the. But yeah, so I'm happy that FTR is going to be heels again because they needed a change. It was getting stale. The babyface act was getting stale. So we'll see what happens going forward. But yeah, this is something that they needed, and we'll see. All right, so the next match on the card is Timeless Tony Storm defending the AEW Women's Championship against Megan Bayne. I think this is the only match on the show that wasn't very predictable. I
Really?
think I think this match could have went either way. I honestly believe that. Um, because Megan Bayne is the hot hand right now. She's great in the ring. And even though I did pick Tony Storm to win, I think Megan Bayne could have won, and if she did, I wouldn't have been surprised. Because now, if you really think about this, Tony Storm is now a four-time champion, the only four-time champion in the women's division, and she doesn't need to have another year-long reign, right? Um, so if she had lost to Megan Bayne in this match, it wouldn't have bothered me. I wouldn't have been surprised because again, Megan Bayne is really good for her age and for the ability that she has, and I would have been fine if Megan Bayne had won this match. But ultimately, she did not, and Tony Storm won. Now, she wasn't able to put her away per se. She tried to do everything to put Megan Bayne away, and she couldn't. It only came down to a small package at the very last minute. And I think doing that makes Megan Bayne look better because she didn't have to. It was a surprise win, and they made that very clear at the end of the match when Megan Bayne was surprised that she lost. But Tony didn't win decisively, which does not hurt Megan Bayne at all. She won clean, yes, but she didn't finish Megan Bayne. And I think Megan Bayne is going to use that momentum to possibly maybe the TBS title down the line. Um, I don't know when, because if Mercedes wins the tournament, I don't know how she loses the TBS title in the middle. Um, Obviously, she's going to have to lose the TBS title on the way to All In if she's going to win the tournament. And who better to lose it to than Megan Bayne, I think. Um, but yeah, I thought this was a fun match. Not the best match in the world, but they're not all going to be the best match in the world. But this was fun. And Tony Storm did a Rocky entrance in Philadelphia.
Yep.
Um, Very similar to when she did the Statue of Liberty at Forbidden Door. And yeah, we'll see what is next for Tony Storm. She's watching the tournament closely. She was on commentary for Tony. She was on commentary for Thunder Rosa versus Chris Statlander on Dynamite. And that was a very good match. And I actually expected Thunder Rosa to win that match, and Chris Statlander ended up winning. So Chris Statlander will be facing most likely Jamie Hayter in round 2.
Right.
Jamie Hayter is going up against Billy Starks for the second like time in 3 weeks. And I don't think Billy Starks is going to beat her this time. Um, so yeah, Jamie Hayter versus Chris Statlander will be a hell of a match. I guess Tony Storm will be watching from the sidelines for now as we go through the tournament. I mean, Double or Nothing is going to happen, so I'm sure she's going to have something to do with Double or Nothing.
So this
Um,
tournament concludes.
at
Is
Double
this?
or Nothing,
Oh, it does for this year.
yes. The
Oh,
finals
I
is the
yeah, yeah,
finals is
I
at
see.
Double or Nothing.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
right. Yeah, because last year, oh, I remember last year they did it at the Calgary Stampede, which is Omahar's hometown.
Yes.
Okay, this makes sense. Okay.
Yes. So there's going to be a lot of time in between the tournament and the pay per view, um, because the tournament's going to end. Like the finals are going to be set, and then we're just going to be building to Double or Nothing for 5 or 6 weeks. So I Tony Storm really, I don't know who she faces in the middle, if she faces anybody at all.
Hmm.
Um, unless she's going to just face Megan Bain again, but I don't think that's going to happen. Um, Megan Bain did have a match on. No, she did a promo on Dynamite interview, and she basically told the entire division that she's coming for everybody.
Yep.
Uh,
I mean, did she face Penelope Ford yet? I can't remember.
uh, Tony.
Yeah.
Yeah, she faced her in the build to that match.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah,
See, that's how like kind of really unmemorable these storylines have become. It's just kind of like don't really remember any of this happening.
yeah. So we'll see what happens. Again, with the Owen Hart tournaments taking like center stage, I guess once we get to the finals of those tournaments and both of those matches taking place at Double or Nothing, we'll be able to have a better idea of what Tony will be doing in the meantime. Because I'm sure they could build up somebody for her to face at Double or Nothing. Um, it's not that hard. Just get somebody to win a bunch of matches in a row. Pretty simple. Um, all right, so the next match. Now I'm conflicted here because this is a great match. The problem is I've seen it 4 other times. And there was no way that Mark Briscoe was winning this match.
Like not like the most highest example I told you of like a predictable outcome. It's like I'm sorry, Mark Briscoe really like for this? No, no.
Yeah. But as I said, this was a great match. This was probably the best match these two have ever had. And I've seen this match getting a lot of praise online. It's a perfect example of how good Kyle Fletcher already is at his young age of 25, I think. Right? 25, or is he 26? I know he's very young. The different but and Mark Briscoe has always been very good. He was just always very good in tag matches. He's killing it in singles matches too. But yeah, we're not expecting Mark Briscoe to win any more singles titles anytime soon. He got his feel good ROH title run, which he deserved. The way he lost it was kind of shitty, but he deserved to have that run because it was in memory of his brother. It was something that he never did after being an ROH lifer. And I think if he's ever going to win another belt by himself, again, it's going to be like a TNT title or even an international title down the line. Um, but and maybe a trios belt here and there. Um, but this match was great. Kyle Fletcher is a superstar in the making. Um, And yeah, there was no way he was losing this match with the way he's been built up recently. Uh, he he's killing it, absolutely killing it. So yeah, Kyle Fletcher moves on to the second round where he will most likely be facing his tag team partner, Konosuke Takeshita.
Oh.
Uh,
Mm.
yes. Don Callis is not feeling good about that because he wants both of his guys to win. And when it was brought up on commentary that what are you going to do when Konosuke Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher have to face each other, he's like, I'm not worried about that. I'm not thinking about that. So I'm curious as to how that's going to go. Um, but yeah, it should be interesting. It should be very interesting. Oh wait, am I thinking? Oh, you know what it is? I think I just got it. I made a mistake here. Hold on. Let me look at something.
But you think? Oh, you mean on how Takeshita and Kyle will face each other?
Yes, I think that would only be in the finals if they both made the finals.
Yeah. Okay. So what I'm looking at is if Takeshita beats Brody, he will face Will Ospreay.
Yes, that is correct. Okay.
So
See,
you're
I
gonna
just
have to have
remembered.
Will Ospreay lose
Yes,
to
yes,
Takeshita.
yeah. Okay, I was remembering it as I was talking. I was like, wait a minute, isn't Will Ospreay on that side? Because I talked about. Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
you said
That
Hangman was gonna face
Will Ospreay
Will
in the final. Yeah, yeah,
Ospreay,
yeah, yeah.
and
Yep,
then
that's
but now you're saying you think the Don Callis guys, you think Kyle Fletcher is gonna face his work husband
no.
Konosuke Takeshita.
That was when I misspoke. I misspoke.
I mean, who
You were
knows? You know what? Now that you're bringing this point up, either scenario could take place. I mean, you think Will Ospreay and Hangman might go into the finals, but what if Hangman has got this thing going on right now. We'll get into it in a bit, but what if there's
I
something nefarious involved and Fletcher gets one over on him?
yeah. So
Um,
I was misremembering some details.
yeah.
But yes, I thought about it as I was saying it, and then I remembered. Yes, so Takeshita would face Osprey in the semis, and Kyle Fletcher is going to most likely be facing Hangman. We don't
Hmm.
know who the wild card is yet. They haven't told us when we're going to find out. We assume it's Josh Alexander.
Well,
uh,
other reports say something else, but I will mention that later when we get to the main event.
yeah. Um, so yeah, I still think the finals will be Will Osprey versus Hangman Adam Page, um, and I think that Kyle Fletcher and Hangman will have a hell of a match when it eventually happens. Um, so on to the next match, and
Your sigh is already giving away your feelings towards this.
okay, so all right, so when we were building to this match, it's the ROH Championship match between Bandito and Chris Jericho. We all knew this was coming. We all knew this was coming. But how we got there is so fucking stupid. So fucking stupid. All right. So we all know the last pay per view. They did the angle with his mother and his sister trying to protect Gravity and all of
Hmm.
that, and basically the build to get here was that Jericho wanted Bandito's mask. He wanted to. This is a story that Jericho has done a billion times, literally. He's done this with every masked rival he's ever had. um, he wants Bandito's mask, and he's gonna. If he wants to get another shot at the title, he's gonna put the mask on the line. There we go. All right. Very early, we establish that the mom and the sister are in the crowd. very early,
Mhm.
like during the entrances. And after that, we have this match, and there's, of course, shenanigans. Brian Keith comes out hobbling, literally hobbling. um, there was actually some good work in the match itself. Like there was power bomb onto the floor. That was nasty, but and some of it was pretty good. But we have the shenanigans, which causes Jericho to use the bat to get the victory. So then commentary's freaking out. Like, oh, Jericho's going to take Bandito's mask off and this. And while this is happening, the exact same thing that happened at Revolution, Aubrey Edwards, for some reason, is talking to the mom and the sister for some reason. And they tell her that the bat is hidden. And she escorts them over the barricade again. And they show her where the bat is. And they restart the match. And Jericho tries to grab the head of Bandito's sister. And Bandito attacks him while he's doing this, hits the 21 plex, and just wins.
Okay.
Why did we have to do any of that? Why couldn't Bandito just win the match?
See, when that happened, I was like, oh. I was like, are they actually going to do this? Are they actually going to do another Juventud Guerrera? I was
Yeah.
like, I didn't think they would go that far.
No,
I
I
mean,
knew.
like, and then when they started, like, or when Aubrey, as soon as when they panned over, Aubrey started talking to Bandito's mom, I'm like, it's over. Because,
Yeah.
by the way, like, this kind of, like, completely scrambles all the rules that we know of officiating in professional wrestling matches. Because
Well,
referee's decision's final, the ref cannot call what he cannot see. So you're allowed to just show a random baseball bat that, at that point, neither referee saw Jericho had his hands on and use.
yep.
So, like, why would you just take this bat and then just believe some old lady in the crowd that this thing took place that justified you to restart a wrestling match that you already made a decision on? So,
Yeah. And nobody watched a replay.
yeah, nobody put a replay
Not
on the big screen.
not a
That would
single
have made
person.
sense.
Not a
You at
single
least showed
referee.
it, like you taped the whole thing, right, guys? You have this all on video. Just replay it a bit. And then you
Yeah.
just have Rems. You can have Remsburg and Aubrey. Aubrey, like, shaking her finger. I told you, Jericho. Remsburg would be like,
Yeah.
Jericho, restart the match.
Yeah. It was very
That would have
stupid.
been more funny. That would have been more comical if you just showed this thing and you have Jericho going like,
Yeah.
like the Ricochet bit when he's like looking like this. I'm like,
Uh-huh.
oh shit,
Yeah.
I'm in
Yeah.
trouble.
I absolutely hated this.
Like they did, like the way they did this, it would have been, like I said, would have been more funnier and more entertaining if they did what I suggested just now.
Yeah.
Instead, they just did a thing where you're like, oh, there's a bat. Oh, Jericho must have cheated. Let's restart the match because Jericho was a cheater. Like,
And
whatever.
we could have avoided all this stupidity. All of this stupidity. If Bandito just won the match. Just clean won the match. No restart. No
Yeah,
nothing. Just
like
win.
yeah.
Just win. That's it. Ugh. So thankfully, that's over. Jericho is not the ROH champion anymore. Bandito is. Thankfully. Somebody that we want to be ROH champion is ROH champion. Hopefully, they start caring about the ROH championship now. And Jericho's taking a break, supposedly. So, yay for that. So, all right. We are at the match of the night. Now, I'm going to preface this. We all knew who was winning this match. There was no way Kenny Omega was losing this match.
Oh,
However,
did you skip over the TNT title match, or did you
oh, did
want to
I?
do?
Oh,
I
yeah,
think
you're
you
right. You're
did.
right. You're right.
Unless you want to do Kenny Omega first, I don't
No, no, no,
mind.
no, no.
Okay,
No, you're right. My mistake. My mistake. I'm not on the ball today.
it's okay. I mean, to be honest, I said like most of this card was predictable. I wasn't too sure about the TNT title match.
This match, I wasn't sure about either.
Yeah,
I actually thought this match was fun. Of course, as you said, this is the TNT title match between Adam Cole and Daniel Garcia. Um, and this was going to be Adam Cole's last opportunity that he did not earn. uh, because every other time that they have fought, it was either a draw or a DQ because somebody interfered. So Daniel Garcia lost this match mainly because of his stubbornness of not being able to defeat Adam Cole on his own. And I thought that they actually built a pretty good story in here, and they did a good segment where they did a sit down interview with Renee and talked about how Adam Cole has been here before. Adam Cole has been a world champion in every brand that he's been on. And Daniel Garcia is still very young and is not ready for the spotlight that Adam Cole deserves to have because he's Adam Cole. And Daniel Garcia obviously wanted to prove him wrong by beating him. And this match was very good, and so Adam Cole's gotten a lot of flack recently for his in-ring work. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. It could be that he's still like got lingering effects from his ankle injury. It could be a number of things, but I still think Adam Cole is very good in the ring, and I've always thought that Adam Cole was very good in the ring. And the man is over as hell. He's just, for whatever reason, he's not over while he's wrestling.
that's really strange. I haven't heard that personally, but I don't know where this is coming from.
It just seems weird that he like gets super over when he's like coming out in his entrance, doing promos, but then the crowd is kind of like not all there for his matches. And I don't believe this. I love Adam Cole. Adam Cole is one of my favorite wrestlers ever. Um, I was there live when him and Kyle O'Reilly had a fight without honor for the Ring of Honor World Title in 2016, and it was one of the best matches I seen of his in person. Um, so yeah, I am not upset that Daniel Garcia lost. I am upset about his reign as a whole because when he and this is something we've talked about in the past a bunch of times, as soon as he won the belt, he entered a tournament to fight for a different belt.
Hmm.
And after he lost that, he tried to fight for another belt for the trios titles. He barely defended this title. Barely. He defended it a bunch, and when he did, he had good matches. But I wanted him to care about that title specifically because that's the title he's holding or was holding at the time. If he just won the TNT title, he should not be in the Continental Classic. He should be defending the TNT title. So Uh, well, breaking news while we're talking about this: the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal will be on SmackDown.
Yeah, I saw that.
Um, so
And
I
so will the WWE Tag Team Championship match next Friday on SmackDown. The Street Profits will face the Motor City Machine Guns.
not at WrestleMania on
No,
SmackDown.
yeah.
So anyway, just again, this is we're recording this during SmackDown. So I am happy for Adam Cole, and going into Dynamite. So recently we were talking about how Mike Bennett and Matt Taven have been absent, like
Hmm.
very absent. Like we haven't seen them in a long time. And we finally found out that they are no longer part of this group. Because the whole reason that they were called the Undisputed Kingdom was because it was Undisputed Era and the Kingdom together.
Right.
But the parts that make them the Kingdom are Matt Taven and Mike Bennett. They are no longer in the group. So, Adam Cole, Roddy Strong, and Kyle O'Reilly did a promo basically saying that they are no longer the Undisputed Kingdom. They are now, as a trio, known as the Paragon. And the Paragon was apparently the first name that was pitched for this group
Yep.
when they originally debuted in 2022.
Yep. I remember this. That's why when that name came up, it sounded familiar.
Yes. So I'm fine with this. I think it's a legal thing. Because you can't call them undisputed, just undisputed, because WWE will throw
Yeah.
a thing at that. So what else are you going to call them? Nothing really lines up with the term. You can't undisputed era can't use it. Undisputed by itself can't use it. Undisputed Kingdom doesn't make sense. So this is fine. I'm fine with it. Um,
It's like the Paragon, the Pinnacle. It's always like something top of something, right?
yeah. So now we have some clarity. Matt Taven and Mike Bennett are not part of this group anymore. Um, I don't know when we're going to see them again, if at all.
I mean, I saw them pop up in like the Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling show, I think,
Uh huh.
and maybe some other indies. But other than that, no, I don't know where they've been.
Well, and I think Mike Bennett might be going on maternity leave again.
Oh, okay, good for him. Congratulations.
Um, I don't know when, but um, yeah. So this is fine. This is the trio we all wanted, right? This trio, and I'm okay with that. I want Adam Cole to defend the hell out of that belt. I want him to defend it a lot. And Kyle O'Reilly and Roddy Strong have already decided they are going for the tag titles. Um, so I'm interested in that for sure. I always thought that Roddy and Kyle was the better duo. And this is, and again, Bobby Fish is not coming back to AEW ever, as far as I know. He's busy in MLW in this horrible Horseman remake.
What do they call themselves again? I was
the
watching that ML.
Rogue Horseman.
Oh my god!
The Rogue Horseman.
And he cut
And
his hair off, and it just looks
yeah,
kind of weird.
and in that group, it consists of Brock Anderson,
Uh huh.
CW Anderson,
Uh huh. Yeah, you need some Andersons in
Anderson.
there. Yup.
We need two Andersons. Need them. And then you
Okay.
got Bobby Fish and Um, what's that other guy's name? He's an MLW guy. Um, Ryan something. He's got like three names. I can't remember.
Let me see. Some guy named Brent Ryan Goslin.
Yeah, that's it.
Who the hell is Rot? What the hell is this name? Like, is he supposed to be the Ric Flair of this group?
I think so.
Oh my god!
And I think his gimmick is supposed to be that he's like a like from a Saturday morning uh teen show, you know, because he's got
All
his
it just reminds me of Ryan Gosling. That's all it reminds me of.
yeah. So yeah, Bobby Fish is. I don't need Bobby Fish in this group ever again. This is the trio. This is the trio that we want: Adam Cole, Roddy Strong, and Kyle O'Reilly. And I want Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong in the tag division. That's where they belong. They are amazing as a tag team. And Adam Cole should be in the position he's in now. And down the line, he will be a world champion. It's just not time for that. It's not time for that. And when it is, we'll know when it is. And yeah, we'll see what happens as far as Danny Garcia. I don't know what he does now. Maybe he's got to reevaluate some things. Maybe he'll go for another championship of some kind. Um, I don't know. But Danny Garcia is very good, and everybody knows that he's very good. And he's not going anywhere. He's going to keep getting better. And yeah, I'm excited for what he does in the future as well. All right, so now we're at the match of the night. And again, I will preface this. We all knew who was winning, but we also knew this was going to be an amazing match. And it was. It's one of the best matches of the year, in my opinion, so far. It's Kenny Omega defending the International Championship against Ricochet and Speedball Mike Bailey in a triple threat. So many great moments in this match. Um, you knew that all three of these guys were going to work well together. Um, we've seen Speedball and Ricochet working together recently, and Kenny Omega, of course, is Kenny Omega. He's called the best bout machine for a reason. The man could have a match of the night with anybody, and having a match of the night with these two, not surprising to me. Um, a lot of great moments here. Um, a lot of near falls also. Um, this match was almost 40 minutes, I think.
Wow.
Um, it was close. It was like yeah, it was a half hour. It was 31 minutes long. So, yeah, I love this match so much, and the way the way it ended was amazing. Ricochet and Speedball were fighting on the top rope, and Speedball was facing the other direction. Like Ricochet was going to do like a reverse Frankensteiner or something, and Ricochet, while he's on the top rope, Kenny Omega pops up behind him and hits a one wing angel from the middle rope. Absolutely amazing. Nobody kicks out of the one wing angel, but especially from the middle rope. Um, I I want to watch this match again. I haven't watched it again yet, but I'm going to at some point because I'm sure it's going to be on the long list for matches of the year for me. I love this match so much. Your thoughts, Al?
This was fantastic, I will say. Again, yes, of course Kenny Omega was gonna win. Like, I'm sorry, like these two other guys, they kind of really just got here. But their combination of skills and like they really complemented each other. Kenny Omega was basically the heavyweight in this match, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because even though he could fly and do his own stuff, but yeah, he was definitely the bigger guy among these two, and like just watching the flow of action just back and forth was just really amazing. Um, yeah, I mean the spots were just like incredible. So yeah, I probably have to go watch this match again myself just to remember all,
Yeah, I
all
mean there's a lot that happened here, but this is definitely a rewatchable match. I'm going to watch this match again soon. Um, After the match, Kenny Omega is celebrating his victory, and we get
mm,
the coin drop.
yes.
Out comes Kazuchika Okada, and we have speculated for a while, and there does not need to be a continental championship.
Yeah, we tried that experiment. It was like,
um,
okay.
we don't need this belt. It's not necessary.
The whole concept was interesting in the beginning that they created this belt for in a tournament,
Yeah.
and then Eddie Kingston was supposed to hold a triple crown for a while, which he did,
Yep.
and then they kind of dissolved that idea when Okada won it from Eddie.
Yeah. Um,
But
this
now
belt.
it's just like they
Yeah.
just had the Continental Classic again, and it's just like Okada ran through everybody, and it's like, yeah,
Yep.
as the defending champion, by the way.
Yeah.
So
And there's too many belts already in literally all of wrestling. We we don't need this belt anymore.
yes,
You can still have the Continental Classic and do something different with it. Like,
yeah, they already retired the FTW championship, which was
yeah.
not really official anyway.
So Kazuchika Okada and Kenny Omega have a standoff. And again, another thing we've been speculating for a while since Kenny Omega came back, the all-in match is Kenny Omega versus Kazuchika Okada. I think we all at this point we all expect that to happen.
Right.
Um, and if it's a unification match between the International and the Continental Championship, that is 100% okay with me. Um, because as we've mentioned in the past, this Okada is not the Okada we fell in love with. But I think when he finally steps in the ring with Kenny Omega again, we will get the Okada of old. We we will get the Okada that is one of the best wrestlers in the world again in the ring with Kenny Omega at All In. So, and we'll have more to talk about with Okada later. Um, as we get to the main event. All right, so here we are. Swerve Strickland defending, uh, going after the world title. I'm so used to saying Swerve Strickland defending that it's so weird to say that he's challenging for the AEW World Title against the champion John Moxley. Now,
Yeah.
this match was even before it happened. You went on social media, the only thing people were talking about was Swerve Strickland needs to win. And it's not because John Moxley is a bad wrestler, it's because John Moxley as champion in this story is not working. Whatever they are doing with the Death Riders, and we have talked about this at nauseum at this point, whatever they are doing with the Death Riders is not working. We don't, and we still don't know what that is, which is crazy. We still don't know what that is. We still have no idea what the point of this is. All they've been doing is beating up old people. That's what they've been doing, beating up old people. And then, like, Swerve shows up, wins the number one contenders match, and everybody is like, all right, it's time. Put the belt back on Swerve on the same show that he won the belt at last year. Make Dynasty Swerve's show where he has to win again. And again, that's not anything to do with Moxley as a performer. It has to do with this story.
Right.
It's this story. It's not working. And him losing the belt is the way that it ends. um, so you had a lot of people on social media going, if Mox wins, we riot. If Mox wins, I might quit AEW for a while. If Mox wins, I'm whatever. Is that an overreaction? Maybe a little, but also I get it because, as we said, we don't know what the point of this story is. Nobody does, and everything that they're doing is making people hate the main event scene because every main event match is the same match. Every main event match is Mox coming in there and doing what Mox does, but also getting interference from every single person in his group.
Right.
And
Like John Moxley of all people does not need outside interference to win matches. Like he's shown that in his first like 3 other AEW World Title reigns, and yet here every title defense is just Death Riders, Death Riders, Death Riders,
yeah,
and it's like. I mean, I had a feeling that they weren't going to put the strap on Swerve because of what we thought, that they're hoping eventually Darby Allin will return safely from Mount Everest
which he hasn't
to.
even gone to yet.
He hasn't started it yet. He's supposed to
No.
start as of this recording in about 4 days.
Yeah.
So that's going to take 2 months.
Yep.
Then, he probably needs a month to get back or recover.
He's
We're
not gonna.
assuming that he's, safely back in
Well,
North
yeah.
America.
So at this point, I think like Mox has to lose the belt by All In, has to, and the only way that that happens is the person who wins the Owen Hart, and whether that's Osprey or Hangman. But based on some things that happened here, I think that's going to be Osprey. Um,
Yeah, like
now,
unfortunately, this match was not very memorable. I mean, it's
no.
another just kind of
So
sluggish,
yes,
slow,
it was very
plodding.
slow, very
I
plodding.
mean,
Yes.
honestly, the most interesting parts of this was like the confrontation between, first of all, Marina Shafir and then Prince Nana, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
And then here's the spot I remember is that whether it was Nana, or I think it was Swerve, Marina like is like dragging like Swerve up, and then I believe what she was attempting to do was basically throw Swerve into Mox for a cutter, and
Yeah.
instead it
Yep.
got reversed, and then Mox hits the cutter on Marina. I don't even
Yep.
know how you can humanly do that in a normal circumstance.
Well,
Where
he
you
was
just go,
already.
oh,
It
I'm
was.
gonna
It
do the
was.
cutter. I'm like, did not notice the long hair in front of me.
It was forward motion, Alan. He was already in the process of doing the
But
cutter.
that is extremely creative, and I really compliment people who try that, and it looks kind of smooth, but it's just normal everyday life. That is just like
Yeah.
kind of hard to
Um.
fathom
Yeah.
happen.
That was an interesting spot, but I didn't think this match was as bad as the internet says it is. I thought it was fine for what it was, but I understand why people are unhappy, and I'm not defending the match at all. Just so you know that I'm not defending the match. I just didn't think it was as bad as people say. Now, one element that I want to bring up that we kind of talked about earlier. So there was a report that Swerve's family was backstage.
Yeah.
Based on what happened in the ROH championship match, why didn't Swerve's family just walk out there and be like, "Did you see that? You should restart the match."
Yeah, hey, we're doing this. We did this already. Why not? Like, let's
Yeah.
go.
Um.
I mean, that was a gross misoversight. Of
Yeah.
if anything.
Yeah. So there's that. Then there's the Hangman element. So Hangman comes out during this match during all the shenanigans where Wheeler Yuta and Claudio are already out there, and Pac was there too, and he goes up on the apron like he's going to do the buckshot to Swerve because, of course, it's established Swerve and Hangman hate each other. In the build to this, we had that great moment. So we haven't really gotten to talk about this on anything, but like in the build up to this, when Swerve was, on the hunt for Moxley, he runs into Hangman. Well, Hangman finds him backstage, and they have a screaming match where they're held back by security. Notably, two of those security guards were Dominic Guarini and Kevin Koo, and the internet lost their minds
Yeah.
about that. But they have this confrontation where Hangman has re-establishes that he has made a vow that as long as he's around, Swerve will never be champion again. And Swerve tells him that he has to let it go. He has to put this behind him. And Hangman goes, "How could he? Swerve broke into his home." And then Swerve goes, "You burned down my house." And Hangman replies, "You deserved it." And Swerve goes, "I know." And Hangman doesn't know what to do at that point. Hangman is like, "What did you say?" And Swerve goes, "I said, I know." And Hangman is literally shocked. He like takes a step back and then walks away because he didn't expect Swerve to say that. He didn't
Yeah.
expect Swerve to take responsibility for his actions. He thought that as long as this was going on, that Swerve would think that what he did was warranted, and that he would be warranted in making sure that he's never world champion ever again. So, when Hangman comes out during this match and makes it look like he's going to attack Swerve, he has some second thoughts and looks at Moxley. And while he's looking at Moxley, Pac shows up and beats the shit out of him. So we didn't really get a definitive answer as to what Hangman was going to do there. But the seeds have been planted for Swerve and Hangman to be friends at some point. It's going to happen. Um, so we have this match, and Swerve is like about to win, essentially. He hits the house call. He's going to go crawl for the pin. And then the lights go out. And when the lights come back on, the Young Bucks are in the ring. And they're holding Swerve's arms. And they hit the EVP trigger. And Mox wins. The internet loses their mind, of course, because they didn't want Mox to win. And
Well, neither did you, neither did I, but we're part
yeah,
of that. So
well, I yes, I did want Swerve to win for the reasons that we discussed earlier. And but I wasn't like calling for AEW's head like some people. Not you. I'm just saying in general.
yeah, got it.
Um so we get to Dynamite. And the Young Bucks, so John Moxley's out. John Moxley does a promo, just says some nonsense that doesn't matter, which is it's funny.
No, it's a familiar pattern now. Mox wins with help from Gang, comes out, makes nonsensical sounds that
Yeah.
resemble human speech.
Yes. Um and while that is happening, he goes to leave. After he's done, he goes to leave. Well, Mox actually had a match. He faced Shibata because I forgot to mention the Ops also showed up during this match.
Yeah.
The Ops also showed up during this match because
Yes,
remember
because the stupid Death Riders came out and
they cut a promo saying that they would be at Dynasty watching.
mm, watching.
So
Yes, like
yes,
everybody else apparently.
yes. So Mox had a match with Shibata on Dynamite. He won, of course. The match was actually very good. Not surprising. It's Mox and Shibata. Um, but after the match, the Young Bucks come out and they want to talk to Moxley, but Moxley leaves. So they basically said that they did what they did to Swerve for Hangman because Hangman once made a vow that as long as he's alive, Swerve will never be champion again. And Hangman is their friend. But they also said that if they can scratch the Death Riders' back, that the Death Riders will scratch their backs, essentially, and that they could work together. So, as we kind of expected, because you remember when the Young Bucks lost the tag titles, they went into their locker room, shredded some papers, and then disappeared for 6 months.
Yeah, yeah, they brought that back up just to remind us all. Hey, remember they committed some kind of
yeah.
last minute information dispersal.
Yes.
Um,
Um, so basically, they want the Death Riders on their side so that they can all control AEW together. And obviously, this is leading to another Anarchy in the Arena match
yeah,
between the Death Riders and the Young Bucks, and some amalgamation of Swerve, the Ops, and
Hangman
Hangman.
probably maybe.
Yeah,
Who knows?
Hangman.
So here's the thing. I understand Pac is injured.
Yep.
I think he actually went in that match with Swerve on Dynamite that happened this past Wednesday. He injured his ankle. So yeah, so the numbers at this point would actually make sense because now you have just Mox, Claudio, and Wheeler and the Bucks against the Ops Swerve and Hammond. What a weird grouping of teams for Anarchy in the
Yeah.
Arena.
So the Ops have declared that they want the trios titles, which get those belts off of the Death Riders now.
So
Um,
interestingly, with Pac injured, like how are they gonna do that? If like
I
would they have
mean,
just Mox step in? That's the easiest thing,
yeah, I mean they could
and
just have
then like
Mock
and
step
have Wheeler
in.
eat the pin because that would be
Yeah.
easiest.
Yes, exactly. Um, so the Ops want the trios titles. Swerve said he's going buck hunting, and we're gonna find out, I guess, what's going on with Hangman, the Young Bucks, and Swerve. And everybody kind of feels like this is leading to a tag match, probably at All In, where the Young Bucks take on Swerve and Hangman.
Hmm.
Um, which is fine, I guess. It helps the story along of the Swerve and Hangman stuff, and involving the Bucks. It moves along the Hangman and Young Bucks stuff. So it's all kind of connected in some way, and that's fine. And I think that once that happens, we can move on from this EVP character of the Young Bucks. And yeah, uh, I think Moxley is going to hold this belt until All In. I'm sorry, everybody. Um, we kind of talked about this a little, and I don't remember where I heard this, but when I heard it, it made a lot of sense. So
Would be hilarious if whoever beats Mox, they finally get their hand raised. They take control of that briefcase. They triumphantly open the briefcase, and it turns out, oh, the AEW title is all in pieces
yeah.
because Mox smashed it up months ago.
Well, I guess we need a new belt, everybody. Um, so the suggestion the not a suggestion, but like, so the story that makes the most sense, that like, as we all know, Cody finished the story,
Yeah.
and it ended in a huge Avengers Endgame type scenario where everybody came out that was involved in some way or fashion, except for the Undertaker, who was not involved at all,
Yeah.
um, to help Cody finally win the championship. And what I heard, and this was just somebody's idea, but it makes so much sense. AEW wants that kind of moment. The problem is that they don't have somebody established to be the person to do that.
Yeah.
They've only established who is going to be beaten, not who is going to beat them. So it seems like AEW wants their Avengers Endgame moment, which just seems pushed. It just seems rushed. It seems like DC trying to have their Avengers Endgame moment when they built up nothing. And that's a horrible comparison that I hate, but it is kind of very similar. Because the Bloodline stuff, that built over years.
Yes.
Years.
Yes. We all may have gotten exhausted about at one point, but that was build was for years.
And
This
that
yeah.
culmination,
Yeah.
that
There was like
culmination,
narrative explaining the bloodline. There was like storytelling. This is just this Death Riders thing. I still don't understand what their motivations are.
nobody does. And that's the problem. That's the problem. That's why everybody wants this to end. Because nobody knows what we're doing here. The least exciting thing on AEW is the world title. Specifically because we haven't seen the belt since November.
Right.
Like, it's
And, and
crazy.
and and the last time someone asked Mox about this was like his wife Renee in that
Yep.
in-depth interview, and Mox says, "Why do you need to see it? I am the world title." It's
Yeah.
like, and then you hear like I guess Taz or somebody trying to justify explain that. I'm like, no, I'm sorry, that doesn't make sense to me. Like
Yeah. And
you just saying the guy represents the world title. That means you mean that he's bigger than the company, but he hasn't really done anything to like.
I will reiterate this again. Again, I know we've talked about this so many times in the past, but I'll reiterate this again. Everybody in the Death Riders are great, but the Death Riders are not great. The idea of the Death Riders is not great. So just end this and let everybody else go their own way. If you want Marina to stay with Mox, that's fine. I don't care if that happens. Keep that. I don't care. But do something else with everybody else. And Mox doesn't need to be this overlord that is trying to reshape AEW into his image, which is not something that John Moxley should care about.
It's and frankly, it really isn't happening at this point.
No,
It's
it's
been
not.
like just there's been no real changes you can that are being shown on television that indicates okay, just because of what Mox is doing that this happened, right?
And
Other
that,
than Rampage being canceled, I don't know,
yeah,
but that was just
I mean, that was just
that
funny.
needed that was just funny. It needed to happen.
Yeah,
Like they found a good way to close that
yeah.
chapter of the show
Um,
of the
I
company.
keep going back to John Moxley seizes the superstation and just does a promo. Like that, he didn't seize anything. He just talked for a little bit.
Right.
Like, it's stuff like that. Like, I understand that there's going to be moments where you're like being cheeky and saying stuff like that, and like, oh, this will be funny. Sure, it would be funny if it wasn't your trying. If you weren't trying to tell me that this is the biggest story going on in your company. It's not. The biggest story going on in your company is Hangman. And that's what you need to be focusing on, not whatever this Death Riders thing is. Which, again, and I hate to sound like a broken record, but we don't know what that is at all. Nobody does. So just move on from it. But again, we're not going to be moving on from it for a while because All In isn't until July. It's April. So, yeah. We'll see what happens with Mox going forward. Obviously, Double or Nothing is, you know, a month and a half away. And I'm sure he's going to be defending. Oh, well, no, he's going to be in Anarchy, so he's not going to be defending the belt. So we won't be having a world title match for a while, probably, unless they have one on like the Dynamite specials. And Swerve is gonna just keep going after the Young Bucks to build to whatever that is. And Hangman is gonna keep building whatever this thing is with Swerve while he's competing in the Owen Cup, which will be interesting because I actually care about that. And again, I care about everybody in the Death Riders, just not what they're doing. And I will keep saying that until this ends. So that's going to do it for us. AEW Dynasty 2025, though very predictable, had some good moments and matches, but all around, not a very great show. And that's sad, but those are going to happen sometimes. So we'll see what happens going forward. I hope that we will be able to have some more things to be positive about in wrestling going forward. Of course, as we are recording this, we are almost a week out of WrestleMania to WrestleMania. And I'm not feeling great about that either. But we'll see. There have been
I think so far with WrestleMania, I am fine with it. I see there. I mean, both nights are capped off by a main event that is their own story. And its own story is not. There's no interaction. Saturday, it's the Punk Roman Rollins thing. I think they're at least telling a good story going on with that. I actually don't think with Sunday night with Cody versus John Cena, it's a bit of a mixed bag. They put the Rock in there at at the Elimination Chamber to kind of spark this whole thing, and with John Cena, the big heel turn, of course, was the biggest shocker.
We
But
haven't
since
seen The
then, it's
Rock
kind of
since.
like, yeah, we haven't seen the Rock since. And the whole Cena thing, it's kind of like I get the sense they didn't really think this through when they turned him. They had John Cena go out. We all expected him to like dress in black and come out the basic thugonomics again. But it turned out he's just like trolling everybody and telling you don't deserve it. I'm gonna keep doing the same music and coming out wearing the same shit
Well,
I've been wearing. And because you're all fickle and selfish, greedy asshole fans, this kid here is a punk. He's like yelling at children. You had like, I mean, I think you mentioned to me offline, you thought the European tour they did recently, really kind of like watered down this feud or like kind of like put a dud in it. They finally had Cody and John hit each other. So and as of this recording, Cody did this whole promo of like I think the history of the world title in the ring. There was like a bunch of
yes,
old world
he
title
had
belts.
every iteration of the WWE
I
Championship.
thought he was gonna reveal a new version of the title. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, And
That
I think the main reason that he had that was because John Cena has said in his promos recently that John Cena was going to win at WrestleMania and then take the WWE Championship away from us. Hey, sound familiar?
yeah,
um, but I will say that, and I kind of made this point offline to you, that I think it's hilarious to me that this John Cena heel turn was kind of like a last minute decision thing. And as soon as they started the European tour, they already had the merch made for every single city.
right.
So I think that was their excuse to be like, oh, well, I'm not going to change how I look just because of
Yeah,
this, that, and the other
let's
thing.
just wear this shit anyway and sell a bunch of them. They're not gonna
Yeah,
care.
because they already made all the merch. um, but yeah, we'll see what happens. So, not to get into this for too long because we've been here
Yeah,
for a
we could do
while,
another
but
episode. We could do another show on this if we felt like it, but no, let's move on.
yeah, in my opinion, WrestleMania 41 on paper doesn't look great, but the matches will probably still be good. That's kind of what always happens. Is when it doesn't look great on paper, the matches end up being very good, and I think that that'll probably be the case here. So we'll see what happens. By time we are back, WrestleMania will probably have passed. So we will probably talk about a lot of that after the fact. So with that, that is going to do it for us. Make sure to go to our link tree to get all the ways to watch and listen to this podcast, as well as our social medias. And um, just enjoy wrestling, enjoy the wrestling you want to watch, and don't shit on the wrestling you don't want to watch. You don't have to be an asshole about wrestling. Just watch what you want to watch and enjoy it.
Yeah, don't be like a guy from New York, not you, that shouts like a crazy person about a
Yes,
thing and
this we
makes me wonder, like, does he talk like that in a normal voice? Is that his
uh
normal voice? Because
well, I know who you're talking about, and if you watch House of Glory, you would know that he does sound like that all the time.
well, I guess when you
Um
do commentary for a wrestling show, your voice changes and it becomes your natural voice since you're doing that all
yes.
the time. Anyway, yeah, that's it for us for now. I think we should end this.
Yes. Yes. So thank you everybody for watching and listening. We will talk to you soon. Thanks. Have a good one.